What I want to be when I grow up, I want to be a president.
My life matters.
We always talk about white people killing black people, but we don't talk enough about black on black crime. We kill each other.
My life matters.
Kansas City is different.
Stuff can happen at a moment.
My life matters.
Say if somebody made me mad, I do the first thing that comes to my mind.
My life matters.
We just go and just retaliate now or just get revenge on anything.
My life matters.
I mean, we've got about 170 homicides already in the city this year.
My life matters.
I saw on the news an 11-year-old girl was shot and killed, and that's all I saw.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hopefully you all can hear me okay. Everything is good on your end, and I'm excited to be here with you all today for Free Show Friday. I'm Gary B. Jr., your media consultant, and today is all about Free Show. We got some folks online. We had Psalms jump in first today. Welcome, Psalms. And they were asking about covering everything from scratch for Free Show because they haven't used it before. So you guys in the chat, show some love. Make sure to share some tips and tricks and things like that that you knew or that you would like to have learned as a beginner, because we're going to be talking about that every Free Show Friday. We always talk about beginner level, intermediate level, and advanced level as best we can. And so anything you all can do to help will be useful for the community, right? So we got folks on Facebook, in the Facebook group. We got folks on GitHub. We got folks on Reddit all over. And we also have a community here in YouTube. And so I'm excited about that. And I'm just pulling up some stuff now on my computer. I also see, let's see who else we got on. We've got Al Fronto from Accra, Ghana. Welcome from Ghana, my friend. Welcome from Ghana. We've got Brian Richards from Michigan, my man, Mr. B Richards. And then we've got KCM Aesthetic Events Live from Adelaide, South Australia. I probably didn't pronounce that right. We got Al Kelkov. Great to see you again. Great to see you as well, my friend. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is going to be fun. This is going to be fun. I'm curious. I got you, Al from Illinois. Al from Illinois. Don't forget to tell me where you're from. I love to hear it. So Psalms, I don't know where you're from. If you're still on, let us know where you're from. We'd love to hear the country or the state, just so we can support each other in the community, and understanding that this is not just a local thing. This is not just people in your area, in your city, or this is worldwide. This is something that people all over the world are using because it's such a great tool. And I'm just excited to be able to help you understand how to use it as best I can. There are so many things to learn with this program. I'm sure I won't be able to cover everything, even if I made 1,000 videos. Free Show is constantly being updated. So I love that about it. And I expect it to continue to get better. I just expect it to continue to get better. So I'm excited about that. There are a lot of new updates going on with Free Show, you guys. A lot of new updates. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up my screen to share with you guys to see what's going on, because Christopher, the developer, he has been going crazy with updates. He has made, I think we're on beta 4. That's what I'm using right now. I'm using 1.5.0 beta number 4. And this is insane in terms of how cool it is that he's continuously making these updates. And so let's see here. See Al Fronto saying, I'm wondering if you know how to use OBS with multiple displays connected via GPU, say like 4 external LED walls. I use vMix to do this, but in recent times, vMix is only about 2 full screens instead of 4. It only shows 2 full screens instead of 4. Well, that's a good question, Al. I love the idea. Let's talk about that in a second. Let me do some review stuff real quick, and then we'll jump into even more stuff, because keep the questions coming, because I'm going to make sure we address all of those. So I think you're the first one. Well, actually, Psalms is the first one on the list. I see No Lag 983 joining us from Tatum, Texas. Hey, I've never heard of Tatum, Texas. Where is it at? Where is that? Like, how close is that? Look, I'm sure people say that all the time. How close is that to Dallas? Or that's the only city I know that's kind of like in the middle to me of Texas. Let me know. And then let's see here. Shantanu Bosi says hi from India. Welcome from India. Wow. So I'm messing up you guys' names, so forgive me. But Shantanu Bosley is what that's how I see it, at least. Welcome all the way from India. So we got Ghana, we've got India, we've got Australia, we've got Michigan, we've got Illinois. This is crazy, you guys. All of you all over the world. I'm honored. I'm here in Georgia, so I'm just excited to be here and to connect with you all. So let's go to some review stuff real quick. some things that have come out, and it's not been much. It's been a lot going on in my world, so forgive me if you haven't seen as many videos, but my goal is for the videos to be as impactful as possible. Let me see something here. Oh, I got that off. Let's check out my properties, make sure all this is good to go. And I'm in OBS right now. If you guys that have tuned in before, you know I like to use OBS. And so we're going to talk about some review stuff. And let me do I'm just going to share my screen, my full screen here, and update that as well. Hold on. All right, that's good. And this is courtesy of last week. You guys got little Gary back. We got little Gary in the house. I think, Brian, was that you that brought that up to me? The idea, I love it. My wife loved it. So we got little Gary in the scene in full effect. We got Tayel TK. Let's see here. Is in add in my 2 cents. I would use FreeShow to display to monitors while leaving vMix just for streaming. I know vMix limitation is a problem. Interesting. That's good because I've never used vMix. So I'm glad that Tayel, you're jumping in, and this is the way the community works, you guys. If you have insight to something, please add it. I know I don't know everything, but with look, I don't know if you guys ever remember something back in the day called Captain Planet, but he's like, with our powers combined, we are Captain Planet. I think that's how they would, and they would bring all the different elements and all this stuff. So that was kind of cool. But that's what I think about when I think about you guys. No Lag 983 says they're between Dallas and Shreveport. Okay, sweet. Michael Graham is on. Greetings from South Africa. Welcome, my friend. Welcome. All right, let's talk about just a quick recap. Just one update for me, at least in terms of videos in the last 7 days or so, has been this one about silent communications with your media team. All right. And I think you guys can see that. But the idea with this was from a FreeShow Friday discussion that we've had multiple times about how we could possibly communicate. And I like to ponder ideas and try to think of ways to streamline and maximize as simple as possible, and also be practical, right? So there's some ways you can use FreeShow that can be so in-depth and so detailed and difficult that it's hard to even put into words and to train it, but you can implement it because it's your system and your process. A lot of the videos I'll make are hopefully easy to implement, or at least easy to understand the concept, and you can build on it from there to make it as complex as you want. But this silent comms is one that I think about it. Like I said, for me, you guys know my history. Those who have tuned in, I grew up in smaller churches. Like, and I say smaller, I mean, maybe 50 people on that would be a great day if 50 people showed up. Typically it was less than 20, right? 25 people was an average day for a lot of the churches I grew up in. And so we didn't have a media booth that was outside of the service. The media booth was just in the back of the room, and we couldn't really talk too loud because everybody in the front of the church or in the church would actually hear us. So this was a really cool idea to me, to be able to have those communications. If you, in your world now, like I said, where we are now in 2025, there are people that are using cameras and all kinds of cool stuff, and you'll have those over-ear communication pieces that a lot of churches where they'll have the little microphone and the headset. That's an awesome idea. But if that's not in your budget, it's not a part of your plan, it's not a part of the process currently, this is a way that everybody has a cell phone. So you can literally use your cell phones to communicate with each other. And I say communicate, it's one-way communication, right? So it's not necessarily two-way where they can't talk to you both back and forth, but you as the media director or whoever, whatever it is, can communicate with everyone and send them a separate message to send instructions if you need things to be different or to be changed from anywhere, right? So if it's the worship leader, if it's the pastor even, or if it's the person on camera or the person on the drums, or whatever it is, person on the soundboard, you can do all that really easily and really simply from FreeShow and kind of use it as your communications hub. And you just use variables to do that, and a stage display and the connections menu. So it walks you through step by step how to do that. And I was using a beta version of that 1.5. I think I was using beta 1. And I try to make a tag for each of my videos now so you can see which version I was using, just so you can be up to date as well, because a lot of times I've seen questions that come in just from all my past videos. I mean, going back, even I just started doing this 2 weeks ago, but going back before that, obviously people would say, hey, I don't see that, or I don't have that. hopefully those tags on the thumbnails will help you understand what version I'm using. So if you need to update, you can update if you want that new feature. And I know how hard it is to update all the time, because you don't want to have something happen and it's not reliable or doesn't support what you need right away on the betas. So I don't always recommend you get the beta for your ministry or your events. If you're doing it for consistency, you want to wait till the solid update is out, right? Those whole number updates for it without the beta included is what I mean. All right. Let's see. Let me check the chat. Let's see here. We got Brian says, yes, it was me. Can you make a video on how to do it? I'll do my best to do that. I was thinking about that when I made it. I was like, I actually just found a video on YouTube to do it. So I'm like you guys, I love to watch and find new ways to do things. So I found a video on how to do it. I'll be happy to do that. So I'll make a note. We got the, what's it called? The parking lot features. I didn't make the parking lot in FreeShow yet, or, as an added feature in FreeShow yet, but I'm going to, consider how to do that as well. But I need to make a note to make a video for the, what's it called? I call it Little Gary. Someone call it Little Gary. And if you guys have things that come up that I don't know the answer to or something like that, I'll try to make a note of it so we can figure it out together. And for you guys in ministry or even in events, this is a really cool feature. I know for me, I love it. Like I said, I use FreeShow for a lot of online stuff, like a lot of live streams and live meetings. Primarily, most of the stuff I do is remote. And so I use FreeShow for that and OBS. And so this came in clutch, and even some meetings I've had this week, which is kind of cool. All right. So let's see here. Al says, great suggestion, Tael. Sometimes we want to put the invoice video on one of the LED walls to make it easier for those in the gallery to watch. Tell me about what's the invoice? The invoice. Tell me about what that means. The invoice. Tiny head, Gary. That's what we called it. That makes sense. But Al, tell me what you mean by the invoice video. I think you mean in-house. So in-house video on one of the LED walls to make it easier for those in the gallery to watch. Okay. Yeah. So we're going to get there. That's a good point. Let's talk about continuing in the review. So we've got silent comms. And if you haven't seen the way to make the bold colors, we talked about that a little bit last week, but that was a video that came out a little over a week ago. I still recommend building and mastering your shows. That's something that I know it's a long video, but make sure to check it out if you have not already. It's major when it comes to understanding FreeShow. I know that Psalms jumped on and said that they would never use FreeShow. I would recommend that video to them, and anybody for that matter. And then also, if you're on the fence about using FreeShow, I would recommend this 20-minute introduction to FreeShow. And I got this fancy car on there because I compared it to what you would see when you're looking for a new car, all right, in terms of the things that FreeShow offers, all right? Now, let's talk about these updates that have been coming out. If you've never tried to download FreeShow or don't know how to get to the updates and all that kind of stuff, what you do is just go to the freeshow.app website. Okay, so it's called .app. It's not .com, it's .app. Let me pull that down just a bit so you can see that. All right. And so, the way it works is you'll go over to downloads. That's what I typically do. I just go over to the download section, and you're gonna see the most stable version, the latest stable version. This is 1.4.9. This is the full version that's out right now. But I like to also check up on the updates and the betas. But before we do that, I gotta let you guys give a shout out to you all. We've got over 3 million downloads for FreeShow to date. Okay, 3 million downloads. When I started making this channel, at least in December, making videos, we were at 1 million. Literally, there was a big email that came out, celebration of it being 1 million. And I'm not the developer at all, so I don't want to confuse anybody. I am just a community member, just like you all are, but I have connections with the developer and now with the FreeShow team in some major ways. But I'm just super excited because they just let me know. They reminded me this week. They was like, "Hey Gary, we hit 3 million downloads this past month." So I'm excited about that. So kudos to you all who have been downloading it, finding out about it. We all play a part in helping make sure that happens. So keep sharing it, letting people know about it because it's completely free. All right. And then this 1.4.9 is there. But if you want to see the betas, you just hit this option that says see all releases. And this is what I always like to go through. And you'll see here, the top one is the latest, and this is a beta 4. But I'm going to go down before this. So beta 3 was out, beta 2 came out, and then we had beta 1. All right. And so if we go to 1.4.9, what happened was we upgraded the user interface. So Christopher, the developer, he actually upgraded the user interface and made it to where it looks the way it looks now, which I love. Unbelievable updates, output state indicators. So at the top of FreeShow, if you were outputting, you'll see a little icon color here. Mine's is red because I don't have the present button active, so it's not active. And then this one here is not active in terms of it's not presenting outward. It's just an NDI signal. All right. And both of these actually I'm using for NDI signals. All right. So let's talk about the beta 1. He updated the conditions to make them smarter. I think I talked about and showed a little bit about that in one of my videos. What video was that? I think it was in this Silent Comms video. You got to see a taste of what those updated conditions look like, which is really cool. Let's see here. Updated pop-up user interface, planning center updates, media thumbnails will be deleted if the original file is not there. Profiles and styles, they now sync up when you do a sync. All right. Those are some of the few ones. And then here, beta 2, PowerPoint to slides now keeps images and some formatting. All right. And so when we talk about using the PowerPoint, right, to make our shows and things like that, it can keep the images now, whereas before it was just for text, I believe is what that's about. So that's pretty cool. And then the PowerPoint to PDF conversion is the option with LibreOffice. And then let's see, your action to toggle specific output locks. First day of the week calendar option. Outputs no longer need to restart when they're hidden. That's a big one. And then beta 3 came out and he made some more changes. So you can set project section start time. That one I haven't even got to test yet, so I want to check that out. So let's see, project section start time. Let's go to FreeShow, and I'm going to go to my training service here. And so if I right click on this, let's see, if I just select it, up in the right, you now have this option that lets you pick a time for that particular section. That is crazy. All right, so this is my closing. It's 11:25 now, so I'm gonna make this be, because I don't know what it's gonna do actually. I've not played with it yet. Let's say 11:30 a.m. And then it shows you here a timer countdown till you get to that particular section. And it shows you the time that that section is supposed to start. So it's really a cool organization tool, which we're going to talk about as our beginner level topic. So those who are with me, we're going to be talking about that in a little bit more later on. All right. And then let's see here, show category template. So let's see here, show category templates. So if we go to show and we got categories, now there's an option for a category template. And if I select that, you can pick a certain template that goes for every item in that category. Not a category, but a template for the show for every item in that category, which is really cool. I love that. All right. So as you make your categories, we're talking about organizing FreeShow. I'm not even going to get into it yet, but we'll talk about that together. All right. And then virtual line breaks. This is a really cool one as well. And let's see, it tweaks project section time, dynamic values. Oh, that's cool. So you can do dynamic values now to show that section timer we just created. So this project section timer, now you can actually make a dynamic value or use a dynamic value, which can be helpful. Like if you're on stage for a stage display, you can put a dynamic value in there to show, things like that, to show when the next section is supposed to start up. Let me see what I've missed down here in the chat real quick. Let me see. Alfonso, yeah, in-house video, got you. We got another friend that jumped on. I can't read your name, my friend, but I see you said hi. Hello to you as well. Teo says you can set each of the FreeShow outputs to a different display and bring in vMix external into FreeShow. And Teo said, I'm guilty of setting one of my displays from FreeShow to only display vMix external. Got you. That's a good conversation you guys are having about vMix and output. So we're going to talk more about that together too. It says you can set cameras to activate on startup in the context menu now. Added action to activate when a group starts. Oh, so when you start a group in a song, so when you get to the chorus, you can make an action that automatically does something when you get to the chorus of your song. Okay. And that action could be, it changes the background, or like I said, you can make action that does a trigger for where your cameras are pointing to, or it may be a in your you might do one that is, I don't know, an action that does a MIDI control that changes the lights or something like that when you get to a certain portion of your show in terms of groups. All right. Let's see here. Favorite scriptures are in drawer. That's pretty cool. So the favorite scriptures option, if I go to scriptures, you can now, let's see if I right click. No, it's not that way. Favorite scriptures. I remember seeing that or reading about it, I should say. I don't remember how to get to it or do it though. We'll figure out. I have to think about how to make favorite scriptures in the drawer. Let me make sure it's not an option here. Yeah, so the drawer is still the same. That's all stuff there. But I think it had to do with in the scriptures is there. But let me see. Shows. Under shows. If I right click on this, add it to a project, log name. Yeah, no, it's not there like that. So it's not about doing it that way. I'm not sure how to do the favorite scripture yet, but we'll figure it out. We'll see. All right. Let's see here. Set video volume per style. That's a big deal. So you can literally set up your styles. This is all about like these incremental controls with FreeShow to where you can set the volume for any media that you play, video wise in this case specifically, or music, I guess too. And it's based on the style that you have created for that output, right? So you create your styles and then you tie those styles to an output. And so for your live stream, you can make it to where the videos are at a certain volume level, right? Because that's important for the live stream feed. But in-house, that video volume level is different, okay? That's a really cool feature because at one point, before this at least, the volume was the same coming out of FreeShow for everything. Pretty much, it was just the same. You can adjust the volume for individual videos separately, but this is something you can just set per style, which is cool. Let's see here. Then now we got beta 4. This is the one I'm using now. So auto prevent sleep mode. Someone asked about that. I remember seeing a request for that. And then paste image from clipboard to a slide. Interesting. And then media can now be dropped from templates and overlays. So media can now be dropped, dropped not from, but on templates and overlays. So you can drag and drop media directly in while you're editing a template or an overlay. And then media can now be dropped from system on edit slide as an item. All right. So when you're editing your slides, you can pull, like in Apple, they call it the Finder. From your Finder window, you got all your files, like your documents, downloads, all that kind of stuff. You'll be able to drag files in, like in this case, images or media, excuse me, that can represent video. You can drag that into your slide and it'll go in as a slide item as opposed to a background item. All right. Planning Center update with it being up to 100 items now. And then updated languages, small tweaks, and then fixed template, items order, template button, incorrect slide numbering, start new show action, not working on slides. So all kinds of cool stuff. Christopher has been a busy man. This just came out yesterday. And then 2 days before, or 3 days ago, I guess, 2 days ago, I guess, yes, beta 3 came out. And then a week ago, beta 2 came out. And then 2 weeks or a week before that, beta 1 came out. So he's actively making improvements and performance issues. One of the things that I saw, I was using beta 2 for a while. And what I noticed is that there was quite a bit of lag when I logged in, right? When I first opened up the program, I've got my setup to where it automatically backs up. So if I go to my settings, I've got it set to where, let's see here. Not that. Let's see. Files. I've got it to where mine's auto saves every 15 minutes and I do a daily auto backup, right? And so, and then I also have let's see here, not the Google Cloud Sync, but I've got Chums. I don't even see Chums. Where is it at? Under connection. So in here, I've got Chums synced up, which is church management systems from the FreeShow company, like the overarching or umbrella company is called Church Apps. So they make a lot of different programs, you guys. They don't just make FreeShow. They also make other services for your ministry to help you organize things on the back end of your ministry, even helping you build your websites, helping you do live streaming, all for free. Okay. So check out Church Apps. Okay. Church Apps. I don't even know if it's churchapps.com. Let me see. Church Apps. I'm going to do .com. Yeah, I think it's .org. All right. Oh, I'm misspelling church. I got CHR. All right. So if you go to churchapps.org, okay, completely free ministry solutions for churches. All right. And they've got all kinds of stuff. So this is Chums, the church management system. And then B1 Church, really cool member engagement and streaming, all for free. And then ministry curriculum, which is lessons.church, really cool. And then the screen presenter FreeShow. This is their catalog of different programs that they offer to the body of Christ completely free. Unbelievable. All right. So make sure you check it out. Check it out when you get time. Churchapps.org. And with that, let's get into some questions now. I know that we are into some Q&A time. So let's talk about these questions we got. So first thing was a question from Psalms at the very beginning. Are we doing anything in understanding FreeShow from scratch? I answered them in the chat saying, hey, we're going to be doing some stuff from the very beginning. Every time we meet for FreeShow Friday, we're going to do some beginner level stuff and all that kind of stuff. All right. And then going on into intermediate and so forth and so on. Now, let's talk about this other question we got. Let's see here. Okay. If you know how to use OBS, this is Al Fronto. I'm wondering if you know how to use OBS with multiple displays connected via GPU, say 4 external LED walls. I use vMix to do this. But in recent times, vMix is only showing 2 full screens instead of 4. And so my question is going to relate to what are you using the LED walls or displays for, right? So you got 4 of them. Are they all connected as one, or are they literally all separate to where there's 4 separate individual units? Let me know about that, Al. And if so, I'm with Tayel. If you can, if everything you're going to put on those displays is going to come from FreeShow, then I would just use FreeShow to arrange the spacing and the size of those and make it output to those from FreeShow. And then in OBS, you can just share, and those could be NDI. You can share those to OBS as an NDI signal. I say NDI, I said OBS to vMix, right? So you can share it to vMix as an NDI signal. So I'm used to using OBS, so I prefer OBS over vMix, not because I think one is better than the other. It's just because that's the one I've used the most. I'm not used vMix at all. I've seen some videos about it, but I'm just more familiar with OBS. Let's see here. And so I use vMix to do this, but in recent times, vMix is only show 2 full screens instead of 4. Yeah, and the question I would have is, I'm guessing you're using vMix for like your live streaming, right? But yeah, so yeah, you asked about OBS. So yes, so with OBS, I would just get OBS to get the NDI signals from FreeShow after you've set up your FreeShow screens. And so there's a video I came out with that it might be helpful for you to check out, depending on how you've got your stuff arranged. I don't know. Let me see here. I think it's called Blended Screens. Here we go. So Blended Screens in FreeShow. This is a little bit, this is 7 months ago, so it's going to be a little bit outdated. I'll have to update that video. But ultimately what it does is it walks you through the video or the output settings in FreeShow to show you how to, let me go to this one. I'm going to go check out what this would look like. And I don't have multiple, well, I do have multiple screens, kind of, but not really. And so if you wanted to change your output values, you can do that, but you would have to make some changes in settings, which you've probably done already, to blend those two screens in your computer to where you make them one. And then you would go into OBS, or not OBS, but into FreeShow and just make it be the length of that, the width of that, or whatever it is. And you can go up here to your settings and you got this option called edge blending. And so you can go there and you can literally adjust and shift that screen image or projection, from FreeShow left or right to make sure that it is blended well, right? So I can turn this up and shift it over. As soon as I shift it over to the left, I can get an option to do some opacity, the rotation to where it's 90 degrees, 180 degrees, depending on where that screen is and all that stuff. And then you'll see a little preview of that blending happening right there in the on this side of it, on the left side, as I updated it there. But that's what you need to be able to do if you got those LED walls all connected, right? Let's see here. Yes, vMix for live stream. Okay, some for showing motion, the main LED. We have sides for showing lyrics and scriptures, and the last two for aesthetic. All right, so some for showing motion, the main one. So the main one is going to be in the front showing motion, and then the other two showing scriptures. What I would do, what I would consider at least, as I envision that at least, is that main one is going to be consistent with what you're going to be having on your scriptures and your lyrics, because your scriptures and lyrics can have a motion background to them, right? So you can have that motion background on the sides if you want to, or it could be plain, right? It could be plain. All you do is turn off the background on those. But then the one in the middle, you can have the background on and have that motion background going. I think it'd be cool if they all had the same motion background though, just for the record. That's my take on it. I've never, I don't know what your setup is exactly, but I would say they all have the same motion background, but the one in the middle just says it just doesn't have any lyrics on it. You would just make an output that is, or a style, I'm sorry, for that output that doesn't have the lyrics on or active, or the slides is what it's called in FreeShow. And let me show you how you would do that for those who are wanting to keep up with my answer, because I know I'm talking fast and talking a lot. But when you go to your styles, so your styles for you, I would make my styles be related to my screens. So I would make it be front left, front screen, and front right screen. And then whatever those additional, wherever they are, I would label them the styles that way. And then you would then say, okay, active layer for the front center screen, it's not going to have slides on. It could have overlays, I guess, but I wouldn't even have that on. I would probably turn the overlays off, and I would turn backgrounds on, and that would be the only thing on the front center. But then the ones on the side where you're putting your lyrics, you would turn on, I would turn on the background and the slide and the overlays. I would have everything on for those on the side, because that's the reference that people are going to be using to actually see the lyrics and scriptures and things like that. And then your additional ones, those are kind of, I'm not sure, you said they're for aesthetics, so I'm not sure what you use them for. You might have a separate FreeShow running to support those if you wanted to. I know a lot of people do that with Pro Presenter, where they'll use multiple iterations of it, like in terms of 2 different computers, to put something unique on that one. And then at times you can put up what's going on in the service on it if you wanted to through an NDI feed or something like that. That would be my recommendation. It's just have it connected in that way, or you can do it where it is coming out from the like from the same source, if that makes sense. Like have some type of splitter device, a switcher, something like that, to where you can get that signal from the main displays into that those additional displays, but also be able to put whatever you want to on those displays as well. So you've got a lot of options, and that's one of my favorite things about this whole process of doing media. You guys, everything is pretty limitless as long as you can figure it out. Right, as long as you can think it through, it's available to do it. It's just a matter of what tools do you need to make it happen, and then are those within reach in terms of, can you make it work? Let's see, those aesthetics are 3 vertical screens, 3 on each side. Okay, currently don't have a great idea for it yet. Okay, so for those, yeah, I would probably just run a separate iteration of FreeShow for those, because it sounds like they can just be something generic that is not related to what's going on, and they can be something creative. So you can make those be, all kind of cool things, and you just control those from a separate computer running FreeShow separately. Now, if you only have one computer, there's a way you could make that work where you can put some other backgrounds for those and make it point directly to that specific output. But if you got all those screens already, I would make sure to encourage you to invest in another computer to run that just for simplicity's sake. So you don't want to have a bunch of stuff overlapped if you don't have to in FreeShow. And that would be my recommendation for it. And then with OBS, you really don't need to show, you don't need to show all the screens, right? You just need to show the one that you're trying to live stream. And so for me, my understanding of it is you're going to probably use some variation of the stuff that's on the side screens. And so in OBS, what I would do is, let me pull up, in OBS, I would output a separate style to OBS that would be like my, like a live stream with lower thirds style, and then video in OBS, right? So my OBS right now, so I've got a talking head, or Gary headshot is what I call it talking head on my companion app. But this one here is just a video of me, and then it allows me to put in lower thirds in FreeShow. And I can't show you guys that because it'll take it out. But let me see if I go to studio. If I go to studio mode, it's gonna flake out. At least it has in the past. Let me see. If I bring it back down here, let me go to studio mode and see if I can make it switch up right. All right. And okay. And so if I go to Gary headshot, you'll see that it's a talking head of me, right? And let me maximize that so you guys can see it. It's a talking head of me over here, and it has room for me to put in a separate style for this particular one. So I've got the FreeShow live stream set up here, but you might make one that's just called, you can call it FreeShow live stream, and it'll have the style will be defaulting with your templates for your lyrics and your scriptures to be lower thirds. And I actually keep my overlays on because this is where you can actually put your logos and all that kind of stuff. If you got that for your ministry, or QR codes are really popular now, putting that on top of what you're doing in OBS as well. And then I just got a camera and a simple background, right? And I do that simple background mostly because I'm not shooting in widescreen 4K. I'm actually shooting in like I got a micro four thirds camera, so it shoots in 6K, but it's 3x4, 4x3. I can't remember which iteration, one of those, but this is the full open gate video of my my camera. All right, let's see here. We got another question or thought here. Let me make sure I don't miss it. Oh, I guess it pops up here. I love to bring live stream comments in one of the vertical screens. It would have the live stream and inside audience to be more interactive. Just an idea. Oh yeah, that's pretty cool. So currently don't have, okay. So I would love to bring in live stream comments in one of the vertical screens. All right, so to do that, that would actually be something that you would manage on the OBS side of things. And OBS, there's a lot of videos on YouTube. I actually started doing that personally. I tested it out, but I didn't have enough patience to follow it through because I was busy. I'm trying to think about when I started trying to do that. I was trying to make you guys' comments pop up, but I was like, I don't necessarily even want to manage that during my live stream right away. But for a ministry, that would be really cool to have that pop up and show up. But yeah, you can set it up to where you can do that. And there's a lot of free plugins you can get on OBS to manage that really well, really easily. All right, let me pull this out the way. That's a really cool setup you got over there. Tayel and Al, I like that. All right, so let me go back to here. So that was the only question. Let's say if you have a brand new, okay, if you are brand new to FreeShow, this is Brian making a comment. I think this is related to Psalms, right? If you're brand new to FreeShow, start with legal pad and pencil. Capture what you need, like equipment, goals, people involved, etc. That is excellent advice. And when I think about getting started with FreeShow, one of the first things I recommend is for people to check out my website. I've got a no nonsense beginner's guide to FreeShow. And I've also got like a media leader's guide to FreeShow. And those two combined, if you are the media leader, I think both of them will be helpful for you. The no nonsense beginner's guide really walks you through how to use FreeShow. Okay. Whereas the media leader's guide, it walks you through organizing and curating the right videos that are already on YouTube to make sense for what you're going to need to do. All right. And I do my best to keep those courses up to date. I usually check in with them once every month or two to make sure that all the content is basically up to date. So as FreeShow keeps updating, if you've already bought one of those courses, you will always have an updated version of it because I'm going to always update it and you'll have access to it if you pay for it once. You don't have to pay for it again, obviously. And it could be helpful and useful when you get new volunteers. I had someone ask me, is there a way to make it to where you could share your account, like your GaryBJr.com account with your team? There's no way that I can allow that to happen on my end, but you can share your username and password, I guess, if you wanted to, if you feel comfortable doing that. Just be mindful. You don't want anybody to make purchases or anything like that. My recommendation is to maybe do like an online meeting, like a Zoom meeting, and share your screen with them to share those videos and walk them through that course if you wanted to, or have it at the church, a live in person. Maybe you guys have a monthly media team training or something like that. I would include it in something like that to have those discussions. But yeah, great feedback, Brian. Let's see here. I'm making sure I didn't miss anything else. Aesthetics, great idea. Alfronto. Also, what of playing with typography in FreeShow for worship lyrics? Oh yeah, that's it. That's a pretty simple one. So the typography is a part of the setup, right? So let's go to, do I have a song in here? Okay, I've got a song here. So let's do Oceans. All right. So I've got this ocean song here, but I want the typography. And when I think typography, you guys correct me if I'm wrong. I'm just thinking about the text, right? And so I can go into this and I can select this slide and I can change the text by selecting edit, or you can right click on it and select the option that says edit here. All right. Now, what you'll have is these options here for the font family, and the fonts are going to be based off of whatever you have on your computer. So if you've got a certain font that you like on your computer, you'll be able to see it here in FreeShow. It's that simple. And you just hit the drop down and search through your fonts. And so for Oceans, I don't know what kind of font I would want. I'm looking through. I'm pretty basic with my fonts, but you can find one that you like. Maybe you want to do Lolita 1. All right. Kind of a drippy font, kind of rounded and smooth, and it could work for water. To me, I like it. And so you could do that. But the more important thing to do is to not go and edit individual slides. My recommendation is going to be to edit your templates. All right. And the reason why that's so important is because I can edit this slide, but then I have to go through and do the same thing on this one and that one. I can select all and try to do that, but I can easily make this universal and synced up much more simply by going to show and going into my templates option. All right. And so right now, if I go to templates, what you'll find is I've got a bunch of different categories for my templates, and I'm in my songs category. And the question that you would have to ask is, what template am I using now? So if I go here, I want to scroll through and see if I've got any of these templates active. I don't see any of them selected for it. Let me see if it's in, I don't know where I put it. Let's see if it's in here. And you'll see a highlight around it, and I might have overlooked it, but you'll be able to see which template you're using. And I don't have anything active there. Let's see, scriptures. I don't think I'm using anything from that one for a song. I got all kind of templates here, or categories, I'm sorry. But I don't see the one I want. So I can go here to songs, and I can take this that I designed, and I can just drag it down here. All right. And so now that becomes a template. I just took that slide that I edited the way I want. I dragged it down, and now I'm going to right click on it, and I'm going to edit it. And actually, I'm just going to rename it. I'm going to call it Verse. No, it's called Verse because that's the group that it was in here. I don't want it to be called Verse. I'm going to call it Lolita. I think that's how you spelled it. 1. I forget the name of the font, but something like that. So I can select, hit enter, lock it in, and now it's here as a template. It automatically went in alphabetical order right before my lower third stuff. So now all I got to do is select it, and now all of my lyrics are now with that font. Okay, that would be my recommendation when it comes to typography in FreeShow. Let's see here. For FreeShow Friday production, do you use your tablet to switch what shows on your main screen, such as YouTube, FreeShow, Reddit, OBS? If not, it might be faster. Yeah, I don't currently, only because I don't know how to do that actually. To use my tablet to switch what shows on the main screen. That would be interesting. Yeah, you have to walk me through how to do that one, Brian. So right now to switch, I just slide over. So on my Apple on my MacBook, I can just do a 3-finger swipe and it just switches me back and forth that way. And then I just go back and forth, which is simple enough for me, but I don't know how jarring it is for you guys. But that's a good question. I don't use my tablet for that. Let's see here. Reddit, OBS. Yeah, if not, it might be faster. I'm curious how to do that. I have to think about that. I don't use Companion on my computer. I just use Companion for OBS and for FreeShow. I've never used it for anything on my computer, believe it or not. So that'll be a learning curve, but I'm curious. That would be pretty cool. That would be pretty cool. All right. So let's get into great questions so far, you guys, and great comments. Keep the comments coming and ideas. Let's see here. Let me know if I forgot anybody or overlooked anything. But my first point for beginners today is going to be all about understanding how to organize your shows. All right. So if you're starting out with FreeShow, one of the first questions you're going to probably ask yourself is, how do I start with this program and make it work? And you probably already got some shows. All right. And so the first thing that you would probably do is you would go up to the top under File and you would just import your shows that you currently have. So you can go to Import, and we've got a whole new updated menu for those who've been using this for a little while. This looks totally different than what I'm used to and what you're probably used to as well. New interface that just looks different. I really like the look and feel of it. This is consistent with that user interface that it was started earlier with some other options. And so you can import any other FreeShow items, right? Or from the clipboard is what you got there. We talked about that as being an option. And then you also can import media from lessons.church, which is the church apps thing, right? PDF and PowerPoint. And then you also can import text from any of these platforms like Pro Presenter. You can import the text from your Pro Presenter shows if you're coming from that, or your Easy Worship shows. You can import the text for those. OpenLP is a big one because it's free. A lot of you all may have used it or heard of it. You can import those lyrics, those slideshows from OpenLP into FreeShow, and it will be the text of it. So it's not going to maintain your backgrounds and all that kind of stuff. So you would be mindful of that, but you can import all that stuff. That's one step, right? Now, once you get those in, the question is, well, what do you do then? Okay. What you do then is they're going to end up being in your shows drawer down here at the bottom. And then I would make some categories to organize those. And so you can just hit new category, and you might call this one, I'm gonna call these Sunday songs, right? And everybody's ministry is going to be unique. So you just take the understanding of it and apply it how you want to, obviously, is the goal. And so those go into alphabetical order. And so I've got Sunday songs is completely blank. There's no shows in there. Okay. But I've got a lot of shows in my songs category, right? So if I select that, I can bring this song, Precious Lamb of God, into Sunday songs by simply dragging it in. And I'm just organizing where my shows are able to be found easily. All right. Now I can always go up here to all, and I'll be able to find that song still. Okay. Let's see here. It's called Precious Lamb of God. It's right there. Okay. I can also do a search for it and find it pretty easily from this all category as well. But if you know where you want them to be, then you can do that. And it makes it easier for you to share instructions. It makes it easier for you to navigate and find what you want and not a bunch of other stuff that you don't want. All right. So that's one thing, organizing, importing the shows, and then putting them in the right categories that you want them to be in. So maybe you've got hymnals, maybe you've got worship songs, maybe you've got youth songs, whatever it is, right? So whatever your format, you can organize your songs in categories, and that's where they'll kind of live for you to be able to reference them quickly. It's like your folders on your computer. Okay. All that stuff is on your computer, but I've got a folder in my documents that's called my website. And inside of my documents, I got another folder called GH6 manual or something like that, right? So you can have all these different folders. Your categories are going to serve like a folder in FreeShow. All right. Now, creating an actual, so we got the show idea, right? You got the show, but the big question I remember getting all the time was, what happens? Like, how does this work in terms of me using it on a Sunday? Right. And so how do you get started with FreeShow on a Sunday is you would actually be greeted on this main projects page. All right. So projects represent an actual day or service or event, right? They're one event. It's a whole project is what they call it. All right. So let's say I was using this for my business and I was doing a a big fundraiser event for an organization, and they wanted to play 4 short videos, and they also wanted to have a backdrop, and they wanted to play some slides during the course of this event. Okay, and they wanted some motion graphics when the DJ was up doing things and people were mingling and eating dinner and all that kind of stuff. That would be one project. Okay, that whole event would be one project, but it would be compiled of multiple different shows. So let's talk about this structure and how FreeShow works. This is very basic stuff, but for new beginners, this is so important, all right? And then even for us that have been using it for some time, intermediate users, advanced users, I want to encourage you to understand these basics, because the better you understand it, the easier it's going to be for you to encourage and implement more volunteers, more team members to understand how to use this program, all right? And so in this project section on the left, you'll see I've got a few folders. I can hit those and they'll collapse. I can select them and they'll expand. You'll see that expand and collapse option, but add a folder by simply selecting this folder icon. And I'm going to call this one FreeShow Training. And notice it's actually inside of the folder I just created. So you can put your folders inside of folders. All right. So I got this FreeShow Training. I'm going to drag it and see if I can pull it out of that. There we go. So I pulled it out. Let's see. All right. And so to pull it out, you just simply pull it to the side. And it's pretty typical for other programs and situations, but I just pulled it out from the indentation that it was in. All right. And so now I've got FreeShow Training. There's nothing in here, but I can make a new project directly from this particular folder, and it'll stay in that folder. The other way that it works is if you hit new project, whichever folder you do have selected, that's where it will kind of embed itself. That's where it'll live. But you can always just go to the folder and select new project. All right. Mine's is defaulting to a date, this month, day, year. Depending on where you live, what part of the world you live in, it might be, I think it's like what, day, month, year. You guys correct me if I'm wrong. In some parts of the world, it's not month, day, year, it's day, month, year. I think it is, right? And so it defaults to that, but I might call this one 919. I'm gonna call it FSF meeting. So FreeShow Friday meeting. And then when I hit enter, it automatically takes me into this blank slate, this blank project. I remember someone saying in the chat, get a pen and pad and just start making notes. After you've done that pen and pad, pen and pencil stuff of what you want to do and how you want things to work and all that kind of stuff, you come here and then you build it out. So when it comes to the project, so we made a folder, and inside of folders are projects. Inside of projects are your shows. And a show is simply a piece of content, right? It could be a video, it could be an image, it could be lyrics, it could be scripture. In FreeShow, the possibilities are pretty endless in terms of how you can organize it. But inside of your particular project, you might have, let's go back to my event option, right? So if I was doing a fundraiser event, I might have like an opening slide loop, right? A lot of you all use this in your ministries. If you got a ministry that you're a part of, some of us are using this for business. So I want to speak to both audiences and just kind of translate it as needed for you. But if you are doing an event, and a ministry service is considered loosely an event for all intents and purposes, but I'm talking about it for business as well. You can organize your event in sections. And so inside of your project, you can say, I want to make a section in my event, and I'm going to call it the opening loop. Okay. This is how I think, at least, right? And then I might have another one that's called introductions. And I would break out every little section. I would break out pieces in ways that make sense for me, because the way I think is I'm pretty categorical. I categorize a lot of different things in my mind, at least, to simplify it. And then there might be a section in here that's called the first video, let's say first video. Yeah, I'll just say first video. Okay. And in that first video, there might be an announcement for an introduction of a speaker, and then I'll put the lower thirds of who that speaker is maybe in there. I might put, there might be a slide that has the image of the person that's going to be introducing the video with their title and their name. All that would go in that section. And then you might have another section here called dinner time video. All right. And in that one, it might be the same idea. The speaker's going to come out. They're going to announce dinner. There might be some slides in there. And I might just call it dinner time. I wouldn't even call it video. I'm just going to call it dinner time. Because in that, there's a lot of different moving parts with it. I've done a lot of events, if you guys haven't noticed. I've mostly done events as a videographer. And so I'm used to being at events and doing that and seeing the other folks running the media center for these big venues using like Pro Presenter or something like that. But it's very much compatible to use with FreeShow as well. So I would call it dinner time, right? And so these are all sections. Each of these sections needs to have shows added to it, right? Content added to it, whether it's a video, whether it's a show, a slideshow or something like that. You need to add all that in there. Now, the cool thing about these is you can make these be different colors. I love to color code my content. And so for the opening, I would choose, I don't want to choose a custom color. I'll just hit close. I want it to be red. And for my introductions, I want it to be green because that's the startup of the whole thing. And then for the first video, I'll make it be yellow. And I would probably do something along those lines. And that's really bright, really vivid. You can make these as toned down or as bright as you want. For me, the brighter the better, just because that's the way I think about it, because it just draws my attention to understand what's broken up and what's not. And then we'll do another one that's blue here. All right. So I've got all these different sections inside of my service. For a ministry, it might be opening countdown. It might be announcements. It might be sermon. And then, or actually before sermon, you probably have worship and then sermon and then maybe some closing content. There might be some, for me, at least in my mind, most of the time when I was in the churches I grew up in, the closing stuff will usually be some type of declaration, maybe a reminder of some of the announcements that we opened up with, right? That are probably part of the beginning, to where we reminded everybody about the upcoming picnic or the outreach event or whatever it may be. And so you would have those categories listed here. All right. Now for the opening loop, we need to add something in there. So you would go into your shows, and I've got some categories already made, what you would have done as well. You might say, okay, I'm going to have some a category called countdown timers or something like that. In this case, I would probably make a category just for this event, for this organization. So whatever the name of the organization, I would probably make a category just for that. And I would put all that content in there. For now, I'm just going to put my FreeShow Friday countdown in there. So I'm going to put that in here, and you can see a little blue line show up right up under it. And it means it's going to drop into that particular section, right? And then opening loop, it can be that. And my opening loop looks like this. This is my FreeShow Friday show. Okay. Intro show. And then introductions, these are going to vary, right? So introductions, I don't know if I've got anything that's simple. Let's see here. I got all kinds. Let's see, City on the Hill, post service. I was doing a recreate for something. Questions, flexibility. I don't know what this was. Okay, we'll do that one. All right. Flexibility of FreeShow. We'll put that in here as an introductions. All right. I'm just dragging that up right on top of that green. You'll see a little blue line show up, and I just drop it in there and it comes in. All right. And now that that's there, I've got a show for my opening loop. I've got a show for my introductions, but I don't need to just have, I don't have to have just one show. I can make multiple shows. So I can do a conditions test. I can put that in here and it'll go right up under that. And then my introductions, now I've got these two different shows. Now notice as I'm building this out, the cool thing about FreeShow, as you all know, is that my audience doesn't see anything I'm doing. They're still seeing the ocean slides, and that's still active and it's still going on for them to see. All right. Now, in order for me to be able to navigate that, I can just hit these little arrows over here and it takes them through that same show. I can literally see now it's going through the next slide. I can hit that and it'll still control this show without me being able to see the show over here. All right. So that's something that's pretty major for me in terms of navigating your shows. All right. Now, going back over here for the first video, I need to add in a video of something, right? So I can go into media and I can find a video. I got a bunch of videos here from the Bible Project. You guys feel free to get those for your youth ministries and even church service, depending on how you guys use your media. All right. So I'm going to do this one, The Way of Exile. I'm going to bring that in as the first video, and it would be a branded video for whatever that organization is typically. Okay. And so now when I go into here, you'll see that video be a part of that. And that's just a video file. It's not an actual pre-made show, but it's a video file. So these don't have to just be shows. They can be images. They can be videos, whatever you need. All right. And then for dinner time, we're going to put in another video. And let's see here. I got all kinds of video stuff. I will just do a generic backdrop, a video backdrop for it. Let's say that's what's going on for dinner. Now I've got a bunch of generic backdrops here. So I'll use this one. And this is a video again. I'm going to drop it in right there. And it's motion backgrounds. All right. So it's just doing something like that. All right. And then what I would probably do for something like this at that time, I would probably use overlays to show more text over the top of that video as opposed to trying to make a separate slideshow. But you have all these options with FreeShow. So now you actually have imported any shows you've got. You have managed your folder, and we made a folder today called FreeShow Training. Then you added a new project in that folder, and our project it automatically defaults to the date. I called it FreeShow Friday meeting. And inside of that particular project, you've also got sections, right? And all we did to make sections, we went down here to this little circle and added a section. And you can change the color of those sections by right-clicking on them. And then once you do that, you can drag in any shows or any media that you want, all right? Now, what I didn't show you is throughout that process, let's say for this one here, if I wanted to put some music to this, you can make the music play straight out of FreeShow. You can also run it separate. I know some of you all may prefer to run it separate. You can definitely do that, but you can go to your audio tab, go in your computer and add a folder that has your music in there. And it doesn't, copy and paste it into FreeShow. It just points to it. And then you can say, you know what, I'm gonna put some music in on my soundtrack. And let's see if I go, I don't know let's see, I got some Amazon music. Let's see here. Dappy T Keys, he's pretty cool. I got some Tasha Cobbs. And I'm not gonna put any of them in there because I don't want to play any. Well, we can put them in there. It shouldn't be a problem. So if you got music, you can literally just drag it onto a slide. And whenever you get to that slide, it'll start to play that music, which is pretty cool in terms of the flexibility that you have with this program. All right. So this is how I would recommend you organize your shows. And this is for that beginner level user that's never used FreeShow. That structure order, understanding that structure order is important. Now, once you're done organizing everything, the last step is going to be to actually show it. And you will go over here to the top upper right and hit present with that little up arrow, and it'll go out, and you have to set up your outputs and all that kind of stuff. But we're just talking about organizing shows. So I kind of skipped over the outputs and all that stuff, but you would set up your outputs and all that kind of stuff as well. But this is how I would organize my shows from a very basic level. For those advanced users and intermediate users, I'm sure there are several other tweaks that you can make along the way. But at a very base level, this is an easy way to get started with FreeShow, organizing your shows. All right. What questions do you guys have about that particular topic? I'm curious. Let me know what questions you have. And I'm going to shift here. So I just went through a huge breakdown. That was a long time too. I don't know how long I was talking about that, but understanding and organizing your shows in FreeShow is a major part of what FreeShow is about. So I want to make sure we dedicate some time to it. You all have been excellent with the content and the questions so far. So keep me posted if anything else comes up. In the meantime, let's go back and let's talk more about the next topic, which is songs options. All right. I talk about this. I'm trying to think. I think we talked about this maybe a little less than a month ago. But when you're creating a song in FreeShow, so you can go into FreeShow, you don't have to import all your shows. You can actually create a new show in the program, which as you get acclimated and import everything, after a while, you're going to have to start adding new things. You can go here to new show at the bottom right, and you can add in a new show. Up here, you can right click in your project and you can select new show as well. And that'll give you the same option to create a new show. In here, if I right click, it'll automatically take me into those and you can do some things for those, but it doesn't let you add a new show from there. All right, let's see here. Brian Richards says the first element in the left column could also be instruction or blessing that only the operator can see. Oh, that's nice. I love that. So you said the first element in the left column. So up here says it could also be instruction or a blessing that only the operator can see. That is pretty cool. I'm guessing you're talking about up here in the project, in the section. So if I made a new section, we call this blessings and instruction. Say, hey, this Sunday, we need to remember to always catch footage of the audience hands and no faces. Right? Maybe last week we had a meeting and we talked about that we don't want to make sure somebody may have had a concern or voiced their concern that they don't want to make sure they don't want anybody's faces or they don't want their face to be seen. As a media team, I know for me it's important to honor that. And typically what you'll find is that even ministries on television and on YouTube, that are larger ministries, they'll do their best to avoid that. And what they might focus on is showing people's hands in worship or just from the back, showing the backs of people's heads and their back or whatnot. So you might put a note in there like that. I can enter down. I might say for the sound team, you can put more notes in here. So this is a great idea, Brian, to put some notes in and then label it as whatever you want to call it, instructions or blessings or whatnot. It might be a prayer that you all pray at the beginning of the service or something along those lines. You might say, remember to turn off track 3 or 4 when pastor is not up. Okay. And that might be pastor's mic or something like that. Let's see here. We got Big LS305. I just call you Big L for short. But as far as playing audio, how do you play music, YouTube, without getting dinged on your live stream? You cannot. And I say music, like if it's somebody, if you don't have the rights to that music, you can't get around that. But if you have rights to the music, I subscribe to a service to do that, but it's not worship music. It's literally for me as a videographer. It's called Artlist. And what I do with Artlist, I don't have any affiliates or anything like that with them. But if you guys are needing just generic instrumental music or something like that, they provide it. I use it for making films. There might be some better places to go find that kind of music. But what Artlist does is when you have an account, you literally go into your account and you plug in the name of your YouTube channel and they'll clear all that music that comes from their platform that shows on your YouTube channel. Right. And so some of the other platforms, I'm sure that Artlist is not alone in that. And so that's kind of a state of the union I'm sure that other platforms use. So if you're looking to get some copyright free, I guess is the word. I'm not sure what the word is. Maybe not copyright free, but you get a license, music that you get a license to, you can pay for some type of subscription or something like that. And they just have a big library of music. I use it to find dramatic music or cinematic music or hype music or exciting music and, happy music, all that stuff. I do, catalog searches and things like that for those. And I'll include those in my short films or my documentary films, my highlight videos for events, like I was telling you guys I do. And so, yes, you can do that. But this is a really cool idea. Brian, I love that. So I'm gonna make this one be a color as well. So I'm gonna change the color so it's easy to see. I'll make it be pink, make it bright pink. And what he was saying was the crazy thing. So you can drag this up. So I can move this up to be above everything. And it's there, right? And so when I go to it, that's the first thing they see. And it just has everything built in. You can type in any text you want to here. All right. And so I love that idea as a really cool tip and a way to have that communication. Going back to what I was talking about with silent comms, this is something that's really helpful for easing the mind and the heart of somebody that's starting out and or that just needs to make sure that you give them the right instruction. All right. I love that. So I should have made that be Q&A, but that was a really, really good feedback really for the organizing your shows. But for songs, when you make a new song in FreeShow, you can go down to new show. And while I'm thinking about it, somebody give me the name of a song that they would want me to look up. I don't have any names on my mind, so I'm going to put in gibberish for now. And you guys tell me what you want me to look up. But in here, you would change the category of where that particular show is going to live. We talked about categories earlier. That's the stuff that's over here under your shows tab. Everything can live in a category. All right. So you would dictate what category it's going to be in by hitting that little drop down. And this just helps you organize your flow. Okay. These categories literally can be whatever you want. If you're doing it using FreeShow for events or you're using it for ministry, using it for a live stream, you categorize it to make sense for you. All right. Let's see here. Brian says YouTube has royalty-free background music and it's pre-approved. Absolutely. That is a cool way to do it. Especially like if you're doing something like a countdown or something like that, I would definitely go that route if you're not looking to pay for a subscription to something else. Okay. And I actually used to use that for my videos as well, right? So for editing videos, you can use their YouTube library as well. They got a lot of cool stuff in there. I think they even have sound effects too. Somebody fact check me on that. Is that true that they have sound effects? And then if you don't have, going back to the song, if you don't have a category, or the show that we're working on, if you don't have a category that you want, you can do a new category and make up a new one right there. Okay. I haven't seen anybody tell me what song they want to include. So we got to get a song. I need a song that we can look up. All right. So I'm gonna put this one into, we'll call it training test. You got the option to make it as a quick lyrics. The quick lyrics are really cool if you have something that you want to copy and paste and you got it from another, platform. Maybe it's another, you don't necessarily need to do it if it's on the internet, but you can get it from the internet that way and copy and paste it and do that. But I would probably say it's likely going to be on your computer, like a Word document, a Google Doc, or something like that. You paste that in here. You use brackets to break out your sections or your groups for that particular piece of content. And those groups don't have to be just song groups. They can be presentation groups. So you might say, for like your pastor's notes, right? So let's say you're making a show for your pastor's presentation. You can make it to where there's brackets around first topic or first point. And then another bracket that says second point, and all the stuff in there. Maybe it's 2 or 3 scriptures for that first point to support that. And then some statements and some slide notes and things like that. Those could all be in that bracket and they will be organized in that group on that show. All right, so we got our show selection song is called Blessed Be Your Name. This brings me to my next point. Brian, who sings that? And it's important because it's going to pop up in a second. I don't know who sings it. I've heard the song before, but I don't know who the original artist is. All right, so let's say we know the name of the song we want to put in, and we don't have it copied and pasted. We can do a simple web search. And when we do that web search, we get the options to see all the different ways that we have online to input that song. What you need to do is, and this is why I asked for the name of the artist, because you want to make sure it's in sync with what you're looking for. And obviously, like this one from Elton John is just called Blessed. So it's not the exact same one. This one's Newsboys. So it's just their version of a song called Blessed Be Your Name. And then I see Matt Redman. I see Newsboys here again. Tree 63. I'm not sure who that is. I've heard of Matt Redman. So I'm guessing it's Matt Redman. And you can see the source for each of those. All right. And then when I select that, what you'll get is it's as if you went to that website and copied and pasted it into here. And what it does is it gives you the title. It gives you the artist. All that content is your metadata. All right. So the title is going to be automatically populated into the metadata. The artist is going to be automatically populated into your metadata for that song. That's important if you want to use that metadata to show on your slide, to give attribution to the artist and the song title, right? So you can do that in your songs. The verse, you can see the brackets here for verse 1, verse 2, pre-chorus, chorus. If any of this is not something that you want in it, I would still keep it in there and I would just make a new layout for the song. That way you will always have the full version of the song. And you just scroll through it and make sure it has everything that you need and nothing extra, or it's not lacking. And if it is, go back up here and just pick another selection from the web search. All right. Let's see here. We got some. Okay. Brian says Matt Redman. How Great Is Our God? Big LS 305 is mentioning another song. So we got all these different songs that we can put in there. So I'm doing Blessed Be Your Name. And if I go up to the top right, before I hit create, you can go to options. All right. This auto assign groups is there. That's important. I keep it on for songs, especially if you're doing that presentation thing that I was talking about. You don't necessarily need that. You can turn it on. I don't know what it'll do if you make your own group though. In terms of making your own brackets and then put it in. Let's see what happens if I turn it off here. Yeah, it doesn't make the brackets go away. But yeah, I've not tried that. I always keep that on. So I keep it on all the time. And then format text, you can have that on, and then you can select the max number of slides for each, or max number of lines, I'm sorry, for each slide. And so I'm going to say 2 lines for this song. All right. I like doing one line sometimes. I like doing 2 as well. This has a lot of lyrics to it. So I would probably do 2 lines for this one. And then you would say create. And now notice what happened. I was in my section called Blessings and Instruction. Blessed be your name automatically got added to that section. So it's a lot like the folders on the previous page in the project. Whatever you're on and you create a new project, it automatically goes into that folder. Whatever section you're in and you make a new show, it automatically goes into that section. All right. So for me, I'm going to put this one into, we don't have a worship section, but I'll put it into my dinner time section. I'll put it down here. All right. And so we can go here. We can see the whole song has been added. Now, remember, we had those words up there to show the title and the name as the very first slide or in the very first of that web search. They're not in here because remember, I told you they go into the metadata. On the far right, you can see those here. And you can add more stuff like the author, the composer. You could have done that in that section. You could have added in there, and all you would do is put in composer and then the equal sign. Whatever that is, it'll automatically populate here. But if we didn't have it, you can just type it in here if you have it now. All right. CCLI information, you can put that in there as well for the song ID, and then the year of the song and any the key that it's in and all that kind of stuff. And then if you have a message to display something on all the slides, you can put that in here as well, which is a really cool feature. And then it's an option down here for style. So override output style. So for this show, I can turn this on and it says, okay, display metadata. It doesn't have anything for that. And then for the message template, you can select something for that. All right. So for metadata display, you can dictate how it shows up, right? And it's just talking about how to make this metadata work. And we can say it's only going to happen on the first slide. Right now it's set to it's not showing up on any slides. You might say it's going to be on the first and last or on all of your slides. And that metadata is what we're talking about, populating the artist name, the author, and all that kind of stuff. All right. And then for your messages, this has to do with how special messages come up on this show. What format or what way do you want it to happen? And if you haven't, I think I made a video maybe a month ago. I can't remember how long, but it was called emergency messages. It's related to this type of messaging option. And I don't remember what, I'm guessing I called it emergency. I think I just called it messages or something like that. Yeah, so here's an example of message. Here's an example of metadata information, but this is the message version. I put it at the top. You can do that. And I think this might be by default actually. And I think I made some that scrolled and all kinds of cool stuff. You can do any of that you want, but it'll give you a whole list of all of your templates you've ever made. And you can, that you have on the program, I should say. Not the ones you deleted, but the ones that are there. All right. And so I want to click out of there. It's not letting me do it. It's still on here. So I'll just select that again. All right. And so that's the metadata part. But notice that my verse 1, verse 2, pre-chorus, all those are categorized here. You can see those. Those are the groups. If I go back here to groups, you'll see those all listed here. Now, earlier I said, hey, don't delete anything as you're importing the song, because you can just do a new layout and just call it a new version of the song. I always default to calling it the short version because I'm always taking something out. And this would be, you might put a name in there. You might name it by the name of the worship leader that you have, okay? And you can build out the song as much as you need to. When I do default, it kind of shortened up. I'm not sure what happened to it. The default version, the short version. Okay, here we go. It seems like it's taking some time to populate. Okay, I'm like, what is it doing? And so it's taking time to populate. It might be because of my motion background, but I doubt it. I don't think anything else has changed. Let's see here. Can you use a wireless presenter with FreeShow? Bobby Manning, tell me about that. What do you mean a wireless presenter? Are you talking about like a clicker? Let me know if that's what you mean, like a pointer. I call them like a pointer or clicker or something like that. If that's what you're talking about, as far as I know, I don't think there's any built-in feature that supports that. And let me do something. Let me check something real quick. Hold on. I went to grab my wireless clicker to see. Okay, I got battery. So I got a clicker here. If this is what you're talking about. Okay, she said yes. Or she, I'm not sure. Bobby, it sounds like a guy's name, but it could be a girl's name too. I know a lady named Bobby. So Bobby said that's what they're talking about. So let me try to plug this up to my computer. Let's see what it does. I've not tested it out yet. Now, if you're looking for wireless control, you can use a phone or a tablet. with FreeShow. All right. So I've got this song active. All right. So I'm in this song. I don't know what's going to happen. Let's see if I hit arrow to the right. Yep. It works completely fine. So I'm just using my clicker. I'm going to go, let's see, can you guys see it? I'm going to the right, going to the next song, going to the next song. Fully supported. I just plugged in the USB. This one just takes a little USB. This is an old school. I probably bought this easily like 20 years ago. Easily. And this is a Kensington. If you guys need one, I don't know. Like I said, it's been in my storage drawer back there for a while. But yes, you can use those. That's news to me. I didn't even know. So you can use a wireless presenter and it just takes you through your songs. I'm just using my clicker to arrow to the right. I can go back and forth and back again, and I can do that. Now, I don't know what this, let's see if I go up. Blessed be the name. And if I go down, up, I don't know what my down up arrows are doing. Let me see. I want to see what it's doing. So if I go up. Oh, going down takes you back to the beginning of that group, I think. No. It's kind of random when I go up and down because on this device, I think up is like play or something. I don't know. And then down is like stop. But I can go one verse at a time or one slot at a time with my arrows to the left and right for sure. And that's just this particular clicker. Every clicker may be a little unique. You might not have 4 buttons, 4 different ways. You might just have just 2, left and right, and it works just fine. Very cool. Never tried it before. Thank you for that question, Bobby. Let's see here. What about doing the song twice? First time for teaching the song. Doing the song twice. Explain a little bit more what you're talking about, Brian, because I'm not sure what you mean doing the song twice. Doing the song twice. First time for teaching the song. Because I'm thinking you're talking about like for praise and worship practice or the choir practice or whatever. Let me know if that's what you're referencing. All right. But that short version I made a new layout and it looks identical to the old layout until I start removing things, right? And so to remove this, what you want to do is you want to actually remove it by section. You don't want to remove one slot at a time because it'll get all jumbled up. It'll get kind of quirky. At least that's my past experience because I did not know what I was doing. But if you go to this and you right click, for example, the pre-chorus, let's say I want to remove that group from the layout. I can hit that. And it takes it out only on the short version though. All right, so no pre-chorus on the short, but when I go to the default, which it shows you here, you can see the pre-chorus is there. Now, the cool thing about this is you can right click or just click in there and rename it. And you might call this full version, right? And I notice over here, it shows you in the next to the title what the full version is. I just love this stuff about FreeShow. It's really cool. It's really well thought out, well organized and easy to use, but I can name that. And then this one, the short version, I'm going to call this one. We're going to call this one Bobby's version. All right. And so you got different people on your team, in the ministry team. And so when I do that, now you'll see that it's in alphabetical order. So that's something to remember. So you might put a 1 or 2 or something like that if you wanted to stay in the order of the first one being the full version. But it shows you here, this is Bobby's version. So whoever's the lead singer for your worship team for that week or that month or whatever it is, they might have a preference on how they sing the song. That's where these layouts come in. I'm sorry. That's where they come into play. Okay. And you can remove sections, or I say sections, groups at a time to organize those songs. Brian, let me know. I'm still waiting on you, man. Let me know, what you mean by what about doing the song twice? All right. All right. Now I'm done talking about shows and songs in this context. Let's talk about chords. All right. This is my advanced level topic. So those who have been using FreeShow for some time, you've probably known about how to organize your files. You've probably known how to create and understand the options that come along with the songs. Okay. But what you may not have used very much is the chords option. So let's dive into it. I've talked about this before, but I want to make sure we share about it again today. So I'm going to go into this particular version. We're going into Bobby's version, and I'm going to go to edit. And when you go to edit, this is where you'll see your options for chords. First off, you're going to see on the right side here, there's an option that's called chords. And when you select it, it activates it on. Okay, let me see what Brian's talking about. He says, repeat the entire song, maybe just duplicate and insert just below the original rather than go to the first slide of the original. Yeah, you could do that. Or the other option you could do, though, to be honest, Brian, what I would probably recommend for this, I would just go to the last slide and then right click on it and then do like a slide action and just say go to start. So it'll just loop, right? When you get to that last one, it'll just automatically go to the first slide. That way you don't alter the layout of what you got. And I know for me, I'm not gonna act like I'm musically inclined. I'll tell you that, you guys, that all the time, but I'll probably mess that up. I'm not even gonna lie. I'll probably mess up that order and all that kind of stuff. So I would probably just recommend putting a loop at the end, and I'll just do it real quick so you can see what it'll look like. So you go to slide actions. I just right clicked on the slide and then I say go to start, and you'll see a little loop icon show up here. All right. And so let's see what that looks like. When I go here, look, I'm using this clicker now. I love this clicker idea. Got the clicker, go to that side, and then, I'm showing you guys full screen. I go to hit the clicker again, and it just takes you right back to the very beginning. And basically it just puts your show on a loop when the person's running through it to practice. Okay. Good question. I thought as well. I like that. So you can do that way. I'm just not going to claim that I'm smart enough to manage that way. I would probably just go into it and go to the last slide and put a loop at the end of it. Okay. Now, if you do that, the downside is if you do that and you're trying to run it through a show, you'll run into a challenge. So let me see something on the full version. If I go down to the last slide, it's not like that. So what I would probably do, let's call this one, let's rename it. We'll call it practice version. That's what I would probably do. I would call it practice and have that one have the loop on it at the end. And then during service, you'll see here, oh, I don't want the practice. I want the full version. It won't have that loop at the end. So to alleviate any concerns I was about to bring up about, hey, that's going to be a problem. And so, yes, it would keep looping in terms of as you get to the last song, you would just start over by by hitting the arrow to the right. It'll just take you to the very first slide. My guess is when he talked about for practicing it, for teaching the song, I'm guessing it's original rather than go to the first slide of the original. I'm guessing it was for practice. I might be wrong. So, Brian, are you talking about practice for that? But yeah, it'll keep looping that way. So you can do it multiple times. But like I said, I would make a practice version like I did here. And that practice version will be very evident for you to see. Oh, we don't want the practice. We want the full. And in that full version, if I go to the last one, that action is not on there, which is important. It won't keep that action there. And so you can go through this one and it'll take you to your next show in the actual project. Okay. Very important. All right. So let's talk about chords. Just briefly, I'm going to tell you guys everything I know about chords, which is not very much, but it can be helpful. Especially there was a question that came up in FreeShow. So this is kind of like in a FreeShow in Facebook. So this is kind of like a figuring out FreeShow segment mixed in with the advanced level, because I think this is more of an advanced feature. Some of you all may be purchasing your chords from an outside vendor of some sort. Completely understandable. But if you don't do that, you can still use that feature in FreeShow to show it on your in-house display maybe, or on the stage display. It's completely up to you, but you can add them by doing it this way for sure. All right. So the first thing you got to do is you go to chords and you make sure it's showing, and then you can see the colors and all that kind of stuff. So these are going to show up in orange and they're going to be size 60. The next thing you do is you go down to the bottom here under this, and you can see this little music icon. That is your chords creator option, I guess. And it pops up something on the left and you say choose chord. All right. So I can select choose chord, and it says, please click any letter to add a chord. All right. So I got to click on somewhere in here. So you'll notice all these highlight individuals. So I might say, I'll put it in the land. I don't have a clue how chords work in terms of musically. I'm not musically inclined, but let's say it's going to be G. It sounds like a cool chord because it starts with the same letter as my name. All right. So I'm going to put G in. And now we've got G. And if I turn this off, you'll see it's not there. If I turn it back on, you'll see that it is there and it's showing up. All right. If I go here, I can add a different one. This one can be D, and I can say select this chord. So I got G and I got D. Now the arrangement of this, don't hold me to it. I'm just giving you guys some ideas and some understanding of how it could look. All right. All right, so we got blessed be your name. You can see over here in the preview, the G is there in orange and the D is there in orange as well. But they're kind of tight. They're kind of overlapping. So if you need more room or more space for that, there's a couple things you can do. What I would do first is I would go over here to my lines item and I would change my line height to give room for my chords. And notice right away, it opened up a lot of space for it so where those are not overlapping. And that might be all you need to do. But if you say, I want these to be bigger, right? So you can make this be bigger. And now that's not enough space, but you can do a vertical offset to where you can raise that up to make them fit in that space. And I'm just looking up in the upper left, you'll see the preview of it. So I can bring that up to where now they're still in that space, but they're a bigger font. All right, so now we go back to our show and select that one. You'll see, blessed be your name, in the land has got a G and a D there. All right. Now, that's pretty cool. That's the basics of using the chords. All right. Typically, you're not going to want that to show up on your primary in-house display. All right. Oh, okay. So Brian says sometimes they teach new songs during worship. So real time during worship. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I like the idea. I still think the loop is going to probably be simpler for your if you got a volunteer, right? I would say a loop option is going to be simpler because it's just one song in there. That song is that show. And because if you do that, I would say you still need to make a separate show that's called the doubled up version or something like that, just so you can be clear on what you got. But the loop version allows you to have that same effect without having to make a special caveat. I call it practice. You might call it training version of the song for the layout would be another way to do it, to keep your shows pretty succinct and easy to have the full song, and that's it. Okay. But I love that. That's good feedback, Brian. I like the idea that you all do that during service to help people understand how to sing the song, which makes a lot of sense. All right. And so going back to the chords, we don't necessarily want this to show up on our main display, but we do want to show up on our stage display. So I need to go into my settings and add a stage display first. So let's go over to outputs. And I've got a stage training display. I'm just going to turn it on. I'm not sure what it's set to. Okay, here we go. So it's set to do that. I don't want it to do that. So I'm going to go to my stage. Actually, I'll do this. I'll just pick a different layout. Let's do my general stage. I don't want to show my my background and all that kind of stuff. And then I want to go to, actually, I'll go here to my stage. And so that's just a blue background there. And this one here. Blessed be your name. Now notice that blessed be your name up here has the chords, or over here it has the chords. This one doesn't have it, and it should be there. You got to make sure that you have it a part of it. So I can go here, select that particular text box, and you'll see the same option for chords. All right. When I select it, now we can see the chords here, and we can see them on the live on the primary. Right now, if I go up on this, you can get an option that says include media. You can do an option that says keep style. Including media is if your slide has pictures on it, then you make sure to turn that on if you want those to be shown on the stage display. Keep the style would actually make it be a lot smaller to fit just like it fits on the primary. But keeping the style to me is not necessary typically. But this turning it off makes it to where you can make sure it's big as possible. That's what the stage display is defaults. It defaults to being as big as it can possibly fit. Okay. In whatever size you make this box for your current slide or your next slide or whatever. Okay. Now I've got that in there and now it's visible. I don't want it to be visible on my actual slide though. So I would go back into here. I'm in there. Even though I can't see it here, it's still there. I have to go back to my chords and I just got to uncheck this box. All right. And now when I go to my next slide, let's go to our next slide and come back. All right. Notice that it's not there for the in-house, but look at my stage display. It's still there because I turned it on the stage display. Those chords are visible. I still had to create the chords in my edit page though. All right. So you create your chords. So on this slide, for example, I don't have any chords on or active that I've added. So I'm going to add a chord by going here, but I don't even have to have those on. I can go here and I can go and I can add in one of the chords I've already created. Or I can so I can select D. But here's the crazy part. To me, it's crazy. You can make anything you want to up there. So you can say, this is a special note for everyone, or for people on stage, or for the, you know, whatever it is, right? I'm gonna say for the stage. Okay, and that special note might be, hey, get ready for the video to show up, or get ready for the loud noise, or get ready for the person that's going to come in. Maybe you're directing a play or something. I don't know, whatever it may be. Maybe there's a special event, and maybe it's a Christmas service or a Easter service or something like that, and something special is going to happen. You can put that in here. So this is a special note for the stage. All right, I got it in there, and I'm going to select it. And now that shows up here. Now let's check out what happens on my stage display. I'm gonna go to my next slide using my clicker. It says it right there. This is a special note for the stage. Now it looks kind of wonky and crazy, so I wouldn't necessarily make it that long, but you can do that. So I'm gonna go here. Let's see what it looks like. And so on here, it looks like that. I got to change that line spacing. So let's do lines. Let's change the line height to give more room for it. All right, so I got it there. And I don't know if that fixes anything on this part. Let's refresh. So it fixes it. If it was showing up here, it'll be there in the orange. On the stage, it still overlaps kind of weird and wonky. So I would probably have to go into it and select that to make it say keep style. And then it will show up that way for the people on stage. So that if you got a really super long note like that, you might need something to make it say keep style. You might need to turn that on for that particular situation. If you're using it to kind of speak to the people on stage only and not actually show chords, keeping the style wouldn't hurt. Okay, if you're going to make these special notes for them. Okay, another way to do those special notes, you won't have to use chords. You can just make a note on a slide and then show that on your stage display as well. All right. Let's see here. Brian says, if this is a band practice, show the chords. During worship, you probably don't need them. That's exactly the case, I think, as well for most ministries, that you can show those during on your primary screen during practice if the band can see them, but definitely on the stage display all the time. You can have those on for that particular show, or for that particular output, I should say, and it'll be there. If there's a note there or chord there, I should say, you'll be able to see it. Absolutely. All right, so that is my thoughts. I know someone on Facebook asked about using the actual chord section to show like repeat or callback, I think was the term they used. I can't remember the actual term they used, but in the service where you're singing and then the crowd sings a certain thing and somebody else says, the person with the mic says something else, and they're like a response, I guess you could call, like a call and response. That was what they were talking about. And this is a solution that could help them with that, to where that'll be there. And in-house, you would want to see that. You would want to see that special callback, right? That response that the audience would have when the person is saying what they're saying, the audience will read what they're supposed to say here. All right. And you can make that customized as much as you want to. So you can literally go in, and in this particular section, let's see here. If I go to my chords, I can see that there. I can make this be huge. I can make this be 90, and it's big. And then I would have to make some adjustments, right? So it's super long. I would probably change it to be, I can click on that and I can make it be shorter. And I'll say, he is good. Now that's what that one says. And I notice that it's not offset well, so I would offset it a little bit. And maybe the chant is, he is good. And I'm just raising it up to where it fits in there by itself. And you might say, okay, audience, you guys are going to read everything that's in orange. Or you might say, you guys are going to read everything that's in green on the screen. All right. And it would show up and they would be able to see it just like that. Where your streams of abundance flow, he is good. Blessed be your name. I made up a new song just now. That's not a part of the song. So don't blame me or fault me if it's not that great, but that's an example of what you can do, and your audience would be able to see it. The people on stage, they would be able to see it. It would show up like that because we got it set to show up the same way on stage. And that's a cool way to use chords for a number of reasons. One, for the traditional reason, and then two, for an additional, look, not traditional, but additional reason of using it as a call and response option for you to not have to make multiple outputs and all this kind of stuff. You can just make it be a whole different color and be on the same slide for everybody to see. What questions or thoughts do you all have about chords? It says it helps with the slide operator is a musician. Man, I'm telling you. Or and not even the slide operator. I would even say, because this, as I've told you guys in the past, even if the slide creator, right? If there's songs going to be a part of this service, right? So for most ministries, it's going to be some music or some lyrics or songs or something like that. They're going to be saying in just to worship God, right? To praise God. The person is going to be leading those songs. It's best that they're the ones that create the slides, because they know exactly how they want to sing it, right? So they will be in there like we talked about earlier when we talked about the song options. They would make a version for themselves, a layout. They lay out the chords and they might make the chorus show up 3 times, or maybe they just sing the bridge, throughout that Sunday, and that's all they want to sing. That's the version they're going to sing. They'll make that version as a new layout. They just hit this little plus sign. They can have as many layouts. I'm just call this the bridge, right? And the only thing in there is the bridge. So I would take out all these. I would right click and I would say remove it from this group. Remove this group from the layout. And I don't even know if this song has a bridge. Okay, it does have a bridge. I'm going to do all this and it doesn't even have a bridge. But there's one in there. So remove from the group layout. Remove this group from the layout. Remove this group from the layout. And remove this group. And all I'm doing is making it to where the only thing in there is the bridge. And there we go. So we got that bridge there, and that could be all it is. And that's all they want. And you can do the same thing. You can go back and remove the groups and all that kind of stuff, right? So I remove this group and remove this group. And this is what they want to, how they want to sing the song that particular week. Maybe it's after something special is going on, or before something special, or whatever it is. You can make a special, the musician or the worship leader or something like that can make the slides exactly how they want, and still you have the full version to fall back on for making any other version you want to later, right? And so that's something I want to make sure is clear for us. And that's a great point, Brian, is that being musically inclined helps if you're dealing with music. And so I'm all for it, to where my approach to it when I was media director at one of my previous churches that I went to was to have the music director make the slides for us during praise practice. They had practice on Thursday, so he would make all the slides, and we used Open LP back then. And so he would make all the slides, and then on Sunday, he would already name the title of the show, for that week with the date. He'd put those songs into the service, and then what we would do is we would bring in the pastor's notes that we would have gotten on that Saturday and bring those in on Sunday to put them into the actual service that's already been built out with the songs, and we would just add the notes and things like that. Take me to the bridge. Is that James Brown you talking about? I don't know. I don't know. Look, that's hilarious though. Take me to the bridge. I love it. All right, y'all. That's all I've got. I'm trying to think about anything else that I left out, but I hope this was something that was a blessing for you guys to understand something new. I hope Psalms is still on there. I haven't seen anything from Psalms today outside that very first comment, but hopefully if you're like Psalms, that you wanted to have a good understanding of some things about Free Show, then you're new to it. Hopefully this helped you. Till next time, you guys have a blessed rest of your day. Today is Friday. Have a great weekend. If you all have service this weekend, make sure to enjoy the Lord. All right. I'll talk to you guys next time. Thank you for watching this video. I really hope it helped you in a major way. Now, at this point, most people would ask you to like and subscribe, and I think that's great, but my goal is a little bit different. My goal is to empower as many people as possible all over the globe. And there's one way that you can really do that. And that is to leave a comment below with questions, a thought, how this video may have helped you, or things that were left out that you still have questions about, and to share this video with someone just like you, someone who is looking for answers, someone who's curious and wants to grow. With your help, I believe we can build a community of people that want to grow together. So